it seems to me that we have more data and more information than we've ever had before and less understanding, and I would say less knowledge. So we're bombarded with data all the time, but very few attempt to connect the dots. So we don't know how things relate to each other. We don't know, we just are swamped with data, and we understand less. You go into a grocery store, we don't know where the milk comes from. Kids think it comes from plastic jugs. We don't understand cows, we don't understand pastures, we don't understand feed, or what it takes to produce all those things. So going forward, we really need to start connecting the dots. How can we use data to manage the planet? How can we use data to begin to address issues that are vital and important to our survival on this planet and to everything else survival as well? I think that waste is still a huge issue, regardless of our understanding of climate change, regardless of our understanding of other kind of major issues like pollution, etc. In my world, what we see is that we're wasting a third of all the food we produce. Waste is a huge issue. Going forward, we'd have to produce half as much food, additionally to what we do today, to meet increased demands by 2050 if we just eliminated waste. Waste is pernicious. It's cost, it's pollution, but more importantly, it's using scarce resources and not getting any benefit from it. So if we could really address waste, that would be great. And that's just about food. We could do the same thing around other types of products and material culture, etc. Waste has almost become a way of life. Planned obsolescence is a way of manufacturing that gets us to buy the same things over and over again. As far as I'm concerned, that's a form of waste. We need to get that out of the system. How could we think about a laptop where you buy a new chip rather than an entire new laptop? How could we think about recycling things in a totally different way that isn't just materially recreating over and over again what we've already been buying? I think the internet and awareness globally has certainly made it easier to transmit images of despair and images of destruction and images of problems. Those can be done in a nanosecond. It's much harder to take a picture of hope, of promise, of opportunity, and convey that same message. And yet that's exactly what we have to do. We have to turn awareness into action. And we have to be able to do that in a way, I think, that lets people own solutions, not just be voyeurs about somebody else's journey. We're all on this journey together. And so each of us has to own the problem and own the solution. We will continue to grow as societies. Will it be a material-based growth? Interesting. Don't know. If it is, then we're going to be in difficult trouble or in difficult waters, because in fact, the more we consume of natural resources, the harder it's going to be for us to find our way to live on this planet sustainably. The world is shrinking. So by that I mean we buy and depend on products from all over the world. And companies are beginning to see that we need to begin to really work at a global level to address sustainability issues, because there's no more frontiers. There's no more going over the next mountain range to find resources that we can exploit. We've got to figure out how to use what we have for all the people that want them. One of the problems with that is that while the economic system has expanded to fill the globe, we don't have a global political system to manage the globe. So we don't have anybody that's actually managing the planet right now. We've got to figure out how to do that. And the first place to start is the natural resource base, the renewable resources, the water, the air, climate change, greenhouse gases, the oceans. Those are things that we really have to begin to manage if we're going to leave our children and our children's children a living planet. So we need to understand how to use the data to look at what our real impact is, to measure our real impact, and to see what alternatives we have. Some may come from new technologies, some may come from doing things better, I do a lot of work on food production. Half of the farmers in the world have to be producing below average results, and yet everybody thinks they're at least average or better. So learning how to use data to expose people to new ideas, to new ways of doing things, to let them benchmark themselves against others to see how to get better. We all need to get better. In fact, we need to get measurably better. So WWF as an organization has focused on species, and we've focused on places because we need places for species to live. Increasingly, we started looking at how people use resources and what the impact of that use is on the species and places we care about. So our long-term goal going forward is nothing short of having a living planet. By 2050, that means figuring out how to accommodate the peak of population growth. So most experts agree that by 2050, 2055, there'll be 9 to 9.5 billion people. That's one plateau. If we can make it to 2050 and still have a planet, that's a good start. 2080, 2100 will probably be the peak of material consumption. How do we make it to 2080 to 2100? That's going to be the next challenge. But those are our long-term goals. Figure out how what we need from this planet can be accommodated and still have a living planet, still have biodiversity, still have ecosystem services, still have water, clean air to breathe, etc. Those are the challenges that we as an organization focus on and all of us depend on.